Hey everybody, I'm PJ to Caesar, and this is another old run of mine that somehow is lacking commentary, so I thought I would go back and record this. So I present to you my any percent world record of Lagoon in 1:22:11 by STA timing, which goes by character control. So timing would begin now. This run was recorded early December of 2015, so like 4.5 years ago now, I guess. It's quite a long time ago, and I really haven't seen this run much since then. I know I rewatched it shortly after I got the run, and then maybe one other time since then. But it's probably been a solid 2 years anyway since I've seen it, and I didn't record script this commentary or anything. I didn't take any notes on this run beforehand, so I'm particularly excited to see what this run is all about. It's been a while. All I remember is that it's good enough to make me not want to run this seriously again. But who knows? Maybe that'll change over the course of the next hour 20. So it might be worth mentioning this. It almost definitely is not worth mentioning, but I'm going to do it anyways. This category is, I guess, what most people just call any percent, but back when I first started running this game, there was a distinction between, I guess what we'd call now as RTA and single segment. Single segment is like the old school SDA nomenclature, which I'm particularly attached to because I'm a bit of a purist, and that's where I got my start with running. But single segment for this game just means that you can't continue if you die. So you can't save your game, and if you die, you just get taken back to the title screen, and that's the end of it. You can't continue. So I had to plan accordingly. There's some safety. I mean, certainly when I started running this game, there's quite a lot of safety, but over the years, I've kind of removed it in the name of speed. So this route would probably be pretty similar to what you would see with like an RTA route, except I'm not saving in front of boss gates. I'm just charging in and hoping for the best. So this entire run is deathless. Just like by definition, the category would fail if it died. But I guess since other runners are probably going to be saving along the way, it might be worth mentioning that this run is deathless. It's probably not just a given. And I guess as you would probably expect, I don't save a single time through this entire run. And it actually is faster to play this way. I was trying to think a while ago if it would be faster to try and take a much riskier route and save before bosses or save before really dangerous places. But saving this game takes like 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds. And dying obviously costs time as well. So I'm not actually sure if it would be faster to... I'm not sure if you could make a route that's risky enough while still being realistic to actually do in one sitting in real time, and have it save time over what I do here. But who knows? At the very least, playing this game or doing serious runs of this and not forcing myself to get a deathless run is not something that I'm interested in. So even if I return to this game, I'll still go deathless route. Alright, so we skipped a whole bunch of stuff at the start. Well, I mean, we didn't in the run, but I didn't talk about anything that happened. Basically, there are these two kids that went to explore this cave, and there was an avalanche or something, and they got stuck in here. And, or rather, one of them escaped. He was lying on the ground, and he told us that the other kid, Giles, is still in here. So they sent me in to help. And then the rest of it was just activating plot triggers to get my equipment, because that's the trigger to get into the gold cave. So they give you 300 gold to start the game. Or rather, you get 300 gold from the mayor, and I think you start with 100. But you have exactly enough money to buy the first sword, which is required, and then the shields and the armor. That'll take you down to 0 gold. But in order to rescue Giles here, you need to give him the healing potion. And there is a healing potion in the first cave, or the first floor of the gold cave. So you can make a detour over there to collect it. But the healing potion is also sold in the first shop in town. It costs 10 gold. So it's faster to just buy some equipment not spend all of your money in equipment and then buy the healing potion. It's faster. It's on the order of like 40 seconds faster. So for an experienced player like me that can not lose more than 40 seconds from missing that piece of equipment, it's a worthwhile sacrifice. But for newer runners, I don't think it's worth it. So the piece of equipment that I opted to skip is the armor. Shield kind of gives you this bonus. Well, it doesn't kind of, it absolutely gives you this bonus. If you have a shield equipped and you're not attacking and you're facing an enemy, you can push them. Let me see if I do it against a skeleton. Yeah. So those two bumps, it wasn't like any special input or any magic trick. It's simply the result of having a shield and hitting an enemy head on. The enemy doesn't have to be facing you, by the way. It's just if you are making contact with an enemy and you're facing the enemy will be pushed away harmlessly. And that works with any shield. It doesn't matter if you have tier 1 or tier 5. Every shield has that same functionality. And that functionality is very important because hitting enemies with this sword is challenging at the best of times. So it's important to be able to like push enemies into a convenient spot, push them against walls, or push them out of like a corridor. Or if like a really dangerous enemy is approaching you, you can just like face him and like collect yourself and figure out the best way to get around him instead of just like getting pushed into a wall, getting rammed into a wall and flattened for all of your health. So we buy the short sword, which is again required, and we buy the shield, which is not required but is very, very useful. With this route, I believe I skip all of the equipment until the 4th tier. So again, I'll get into that later, but it means that for the first like 50 minutes of the run, I'm going to essentially have no defensive equipment. So things are going to be pretty dicey. And I guess I'll take a moment, since we're in the middle of this escort quest, to talk about how the mechanics of this game work. Anybody who's familiar with like the East series knows that this is, I mean, the HUD probably looks familiar. This is a pretty clear ripoff of the East games, and this was originally released for the Sharp X68000. It's a really cool like home computer system. I think only in Japan. And that version is actually really neat too, but that uses the bump combat that you would see in the East games. So for the port to SNES, they removed that and gave you an actual sword that you swing instead of just hold out. So there's that. The sword length never changes. You always have this really awful hitbox, and that's, I mean, honestly, the only thing that makes this game memorable. You have this absolutely pitiful sword, and the enemies move pretty frantically for the most part. But that's what gives it its charm to me. So yeah, that's how you do damage. You swing your sword and hope you hit something. Later you'll get magic. Magic does a set amount of damage and is pretty useful. There's really no in between. It's either very, very useful or completely useless. But we make good use of it in the run, so I'll explain more about that as it's relevant. And then as you take damage, obviously your health is next to player and enemy is next to enemy. The health bar doesn't scale, so that the full length bar is always 256 health. So right now we are actually at max health. It doesn't like always set the full bar length to max health. You only have that tiny sliver when you start, and then it slowly expands. And likewise, your health regen rate and MP regen rate are the same for the entire game. It'll regen quickly in town if you're standing still, or rather, it only refills if you're standing still, whether in town or in a cave, and the refill rate is faster in town. But there are some ways to make the refills a little bit more efficient, and I'll again talk about that as it gets more relevant. So we saved Giles, and on doing that, we return to this town, and they say, "Wow, you're really good. This lady in the House of Faith," I think that's the House of Faith, it doesn't really matter. That lady says, "Wow, you're a really good warrior. Back in my day, we fought this really fearsome beast named Samson. We locked him in this room. If you'd like to, you can go try and kill him. Here's the key." So we go and do that now. So along the way, I was killing enemies. We're trying to kill enemies. We're level 3 right now. There's no level up indication in this game. You just know that you leveled up either by like checking your menu, the pause screen, or what I do in speedruns is to check my max MP. Because for the most part I know how much MP I'm going to have. I'm usually at max MP for most of these dungeons, whereas I'm not always going to be at max HP. So I can't really use that to gauge. And MP is displayed as a number instead of a bar, so it's easier to tell how much I have. But I want it to be level 3 here because it lets me survive 1 extra hit against Samson as opposed to level 2. I think I can... gee, I don't even know. I'm not going to try and throw out a number, but it gives me more survivability than level 2. And we have that entire escort quest to kill enemies freely without losing time. So Samson, ideally the whole fight will go this way. In this case it didn't. Okay. So for every boss in the game, every time you hit them and they're blinking white, their AI is delayed during those frames. And some enemies take action so infrequently that with like a near perfect rhythm on your attack and on your swinging, you can just kind of lock them in place. So Samson is one of those bosses. If you have a really good rhythm, then Samson will just stay in the center. Or, I mean, if he takes a long jump, he'll stay at the bottom. Really, he'll jump, and then you kill him where he stands. But my rhythm wasn't super tight, so he escaped, and then I couldn't find the spacing again. So overall, not a great fight. So this is our second area. This is Elffield and Philip's Castle and the other town whose name I don't care to remember. So the main plot sequence here is that we need to collect these 3 tablets to open up this castle. But we don't actually have to trigger any kind of quest in order to find these tablets. If we know where they are, or rather if we know where this one is, we can go grab it first. And it's a little bit faster to grab this first and then go back to town. After you collect all 3 tablets, you do have to go back to town to the Elder, or I think he's the Elder. He's the greeter, the guy at the front of the town. You know, I don't know if they call the person that gives you all the stuff. I don't know if he's the mayor, or the chief, or if he's the Elder. But anyways, there's some dude at the front of the town that'll decode the tablets for you, and he'll teach you the spell. What's happening here is that Philip's Castle falls asleep every 1,000 years, and there are some townspeople who were exploring or playing around or something, and they somehow get stuck inside. So since we are the hero of light, we're going to go save them. Wow, valiant effort, PJ. Alright, well, so this... Man. Alright, if you kill those beetles efficiently, it is faster to just kill them, as opposed to running around. Enemies in this game cause a ton of lag, and you can kill them while moving if your rhythm is good enough. So, like, hitting those beetles as you move to the left gets them off screen, gets them away from the other enemies, so it saves some lag. And then when you kill them, it reduces even more lag, and you get some experience. So it's a little bit faster to do that, but, I mean, if you botch it like I did there, there's absolutely no benefit. Okay, this is going to be our first glimpse at magic. So magic in this game is... Alright, well, you collect elemental crystals and you collect staves, and then the magic spell that you have access to is based on which staff and which crystal you have equipped. So we have the first staff, which I believe is Earth Staff, and we have the Fire Crystal. Fire Crystal was given to us from Samson, and the staff was given by important guy in that town, the mayor or chief or elder, whatever his title is. He gave us that. So we have access to basic Fireball. So like I alluded to before, magic does a fixed amount of damage, so it's going to be really handy if we're underleveled, or rather when we're underleveled, for killing enemies. And again, it's really good for like killing enemies that are on like the far edges of the screen, so you can kill them before the lag really starts to pick up. And it gives us something to do with our MP. So magic is going to be really critical for like the early to early mid game, and then it's going to drop off pretty massively in terms of effectiveness. There is one minor quirk. Magic does have like a slight randomness to the damage. So I think it can fluctuate by one damage. And if I remember right, 1 pixel on the health bar is 2 health? I think. So sometimes there's like no discernible difference, but then like you'll notice that killing an enemy with, or you can kill an enemy with 4 fireballs sometimes, but other times you'll fire 4 fireballs and the enemy will live with magic pixel. So the bar will appear empty, but the enemy's still alive. And there are some magical combinations where, like, with my level and equipment and a certain number of fireballs, it is possible for enemies to live with 1 HP, and it's pretty unfortunate. So I said it does a set amount of damage, and it's mostly true, but there are those weird situations. Okay, so that dude that we escorted was, spoiler alert, our twin brother? He's the dark counterpart to the Hero of Light. We don't know that he's bad yet, so he helped us get the other 2 tablets. He had one of them, and then he knew where to find the other one. We just had to bring him there. So we got all the tablets. The greeter in that town told us that Volo, that's the name. I did it. I got there. He told us the magic spell, so we woke up the castle. Now we're inside. When we talked to the Elder Mayor guy, in addition to the Earth Staff, he also gave us the movable mantle, and that's what's needed to liberate these captives. I don't think they're really prisoners, even though we're going to the prison. You know, I'm not sure. I was under the impression that they were just in here, and then the castle fell asleep. Because there's not like a big important guard. I don't know if they're actually captives, but they are in a cell. But there's no one guarding the cell. You know, I never really thought about this before. But either way, we're gonna save him. We're gonna bring him back home. Along the way, we're gonna just kind of kill enemies as they show up. Like it seems unnecessary. Like the experience that most of these enemies give is pretty trivial. But the alternative is to like just push an enemy, just bump them around the map, or like run a circle around them, a tight circle around them, and then keep going. But they're gonna follow you to the ends of the earth, and they cause so much lag that in many cases it's gonna be faster to just like push them against a wall and attack them for 3 seconds than it would be to try and escape. So the prison here, these wizrobes are extremely dangerous. We're level 6 right now. Oh, that's not right. We're level 5, I think. I think we should have 19 max MP. I think 22 max MP is level 6, and then we get 1 more level before the boss. I think. Now, either way, whatever level we're at, with this combination of armor and level, if we're at max health, we will survive a single fireball. We'll be left with like 2 or 4 HP, a tiny little sliver. 18, 19... Oh, I guess 18's the max, not 19. Yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, so we have a level to gain before we get to where I thought I was at. But yeah, it's important that we are at whatever level I'm at, so that we do survive. We do survive the fireballs instead of just being killed. If we're too close to the wizrobes and we get hit by 2 fireballs, we're dead, and the run's over. 19. No, it was 19. I was right. I shouldn't have doubted myself. Yeah. The wizrobes give very low... Looks like I am level 6. They give very low experience, so killing them isn't really worthwhile. It's more like, again, I want to kill them just to get them off screen and to eliminate the threat of dying. I think I go to the right here. Okay, so one improvement that I did find since this run, it saves like 3 tiles of movement. You can talk to any of these elves with the movable mantle, and it'll be just fine. You don't have to talk to the one to the right. So, there's that. See, already there's so much room for improvement. I should beat this run. Should be easy. So what you're seeing here, probably, if you have a keen eye, or if I'm sloppy enough with my stutter stepping, is that I'm stutter stepping. So like I mentioned before, your health and MP only recover if you're standing still. Not sure why I didn't just commit to this. I think what I might have done is, depending on your movement, sometimes some enemies don't respawn, so maybe I just like assumed that that would be the case. And then he showed his face and I decided to go kill him. Because these squids are worth pretty good experience, they're worth killing. But the wizrobes are not. Alright, 22 MP now. Now we're at the level that I want it to be. Yeah, so the stutter stepping, your HP and MP only refill while you're standing still. But the way it works in reality is that the game doesn't really care that you have been standing still. It only cares that at this moment you're standing still, and then there's a cooldown. So I don't know what the refill rate is. Just for the sake of demonstration, I'm gonna say it's 30 frames. So if you're standing still, every 30 frames you'll get 1 MP and 1 HP. But what this means is that as long as I think this game kind of runs at 30 FPS. I think. But whatever, it's not important for this demonstration. What it means is that if I walk for 29 frames and then stop for 1 frame, and then repeat that cycle, I'm gonna get optimal regen rate, but I'm still moving most of the time. So that's how we're gonna be refilling HP and MP throughout the entire run, besides like brief moments like this where I'm standing still to sync up sword swings, or like where I don't know, when I'm standing still at any point for positioning purposes. Any HP and MP I refill there is obviously not from stutter stepping, but for the vast majority of this run, that's all I'm going to be doing for refills. There are some places where MP is like really important, and I'm going to bleed my entire pool dry, and it's going to just be worth it to like stop for 4 seconds or 5 seconds in a town to fully refill that, as opposed to trying to do optimal stutter stepping for an entire dangerous map. But yeah, for the most part, I'm going to be stutter stepping. And like I said, I'm not going to be upgrading my equipment for a very long time, and the health bar, or your regen rate doesn't scale. So as my health bar gets longer, and I take more damage, it just means that I'm going to have to stutter step for that much longer to recover. So getting hit is a really big penalty in like the mid to late game. Right now it's not too bad, because again in this map I'm using MP, so I want to stutter step anyways to refill that, and the enemies aren't going to be doing a catastrophic amount of damage to me. So generally speaking, unless there's a really big boo-boo, just from refilling my MP, my HP is going to remain at max. In this dungeon there is the 2nd tier armor and 2nd shield. And 2nd sword, but we're going to get that from the boss. I'm going to be skipping both the armor and the shield, again, just because it takes time. Alright, so it's important here that we reach level 7 before Natella, and again, that's just so that I can survive 1 hit instead of being killed. Natella being the boss, it's this winged chimera thing. This is probably the hardest boss in the game. Well, no, Ella is the hardest boss in the game, but Natella is close. She has 2 phases. She has the normal phase where she'll, if you're off to the side, she'll fire fireballs in a group of 6, or in waves of 6. And if you're in front, then she'll charge. And when it's decision time, she chooses to either shoot the fireballs or charge. So you can force her into shooting fireballs if you're off to the side, and then when she's locked into shooting fireballs, which happens after 2, then you can charge in front and do this, and she's guaranteed to finish out the wave of 6, and then you retreat to the side again. Once her health gets low, like right about here, you man up and finish the job, apparently. Nice, that was a really good fight. So ordinarily, and the safe way to fight her is that when her health gets to desperation phase, she will choose an attack at any point, based on your position. So if she shoots 2 fireballs and then you square up in front of her, she'll charge at you. She's not locked into shooting a wave of 6. And that gets very dangerous. I mean, dangerous isn't even the right word, you just lost the fight. There you go, that's a good example of the 1 health enemy. 2 sword swings with silver sword at this level, plus 1 fireball. There's another example. Has a chance to let these guys live, which is very irritating. Right, so the safe strat against Natella is to bring her into desperation phase, and then there's a 1 or 2 pixel window where you can stand to the side of her, but still center enough to get her to charge, but you're able to hit her without taking damage. So that's the way that it normally goes. In a speedrun, obviously you want to just finish the entire thing in phase 1 in that first volley of 6 fireballs. But if your rhythm isn't tight, or if you get hit and have to reset it, then it's better to just take the backup strat. These clouds are kind of good experience. I want to kill basically all of these enemies that are in my way. Any enemy that's practical to kill, I want to kill. MP is really of no concern right now because it's not going to be able to damage any enemies in the next map. So I'm free to just kind of spam fireballs. The main reason I'm not killing these clouds is that they're invincible when they go to lightning phase, and they also have just wandering AI. So they don't move in any predictable way. And there are a lot of enemies like that. Some enemies will like kind of amble around until they see you, like these guys, the Gold Knights. Some enemies will always see you and always try to move in your row and kill you, like these Black Knights and the ghosts in the previous screen. And I mean, most of the enemies in this game have that AI. But the ambling enemies, the guys that just kind of move around wherever they want, they're really dangerous. They still do a lot of damage to you, but you can't line up attacks or manipulate them in any way. So I try to kill them whenever I can, but I really have to respect their space. So this is kind of a weird section. I've read all the dialogue in the game a few times, and I very, very well could be mistaken, but I don't know that anybody ever mentions what that boss is, or why she's there, or why killing her opens up this door. I don't know, but for some reason killing Natella opens up this door and we're able to go to the next area. So Dwarf Desert, this is my least favorite stretch of the game. It has a lot of just like tedious walking around. It has the longest backtrack in the game, and the dungeon is unnecessarily dangerous. So I'm really not a big fan of this stretch of game. Oh, it has two major backtracks. Oh man, forgot about that. So, Denagul. The shop here has the 3rd tier armor and the 3rd tier shield. We don't have enough money for either of them, but even if we did, we wouldn't be buying them. Oh, that might not be true. Let me make a note of that. Because I think the shield is only 1,200 gold. I'm wondering if it would be worth buying that shield and then skipping the 4th shield. Would this upgrade do anything for us? When would we use it? When do we menu? I'm just gonna write a quick note and then we'll get on with the commentary. See, this is why it's important to rewatch your runs with fresh eyes. Okay, so we talked to 2 people there. The first dude gives us another staff. The second staff. He gives us the ancient book, which you can read to learn things. I think that book is what tells you how to get the Moonblade later in the game. I think it tells you about, in a poorly translated hint, it tells you about holding the moonstone up to the light. And the Moonblade is a required item, but I think that's the only place where that's even mentioned. And then we find Thor, and Thor offers to do something for us, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just asks us a favor out of the blue. But It's an RPG and we're the good guys, so we have to accept any favors, any quests that anybody gives us. He dropped his pendant somewhere, and we have to go find it. And it turns out that he dropped it in this previous town, Volo. So away we go. Again, we do have MP. That was really good stutter stepping. I was watching my MP increment, but I wasn't actually seeing my character stopping. That's really impressive. Once again, I try to kill the beetles smoothly. Once again, I fail. It's alright. Someday I'll be good enough to do that. Alright, this person just asks us if it's ours, and we lie. We tell them yes. Now we have to go back to Dwarf Cave. Nope, to Denagul. So that super long menu to equip Thor's pendant, that's pretty important. So it takes about 6 seconds to use the inventory in this game. So even if I'm like a god at menu navigation and I have enough money to buy the 3rd armor and the 3rd shield, or if it costs no time at all to collect the 2nd armor and 2nd shield from Philip's Castle, it still would be slower to actually equip them just because of how long the menu takes. So we'll see definitely later. Even when I do collect an equipment upgrade, I am not actually going to be equipping it straight away just because it takes so damn long to menu. It's just faster to wait and equip multiple things at once. This run is... I mean, it's not a great game, but this run has some really interesting optimizations like those that just make it really fun, I think. Like, the lag management, I know a lot of people hate lag management in runs, but the lag management in this is pretty interesting. The challenge of trying to actually use your sword in an effective way is interesting. And then things like trying to figure out the equipment route, because menuing takes so long. There are a lot of unique considerations that went into routing this game. And I still think there's a lot of room for improvement, but there hasn't been a lot of work that has been put into this. There was a task by Omnipotent Entity, which is really fun to watch. And then I dedicated like 6 years to this, and Zello then improved on my route and passed along those improvements, and then I worked on it for a bit longer, and I think that's kind of where it ended up. So I still think there's a lot of room for innovation with like level route and equipment and maybe boss strats. But I don't know. At this point, it's really tough for me to find improvements just because I've been doing the same thing for so many years. It's hard for me to break habits. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows what the future of this run will bring? Okay, we're done finally with first backtrack. So the fetch quest with Thor gave us the powerful mirror, and the powerful mirror is used to smash rocks, but not those rocks that are attacking us, specific rocks up here by the mountain. You know, this isn't related to anything, but I'm drinking this beer right now. I found this at the store. It's called Reckless Abandon. It's a double IPA. And I had to buy it just because of the name. I thought, you know, it's basically tailored right to me. It's a double IPA and it's called Reckless Abandon. But I didn't really have any hopes for it. I don't even know what the brewery is. And the label's just like scribbles. Literal scribbles. But this is a really good beer. I'm a fan of this. Alright, well, that being said, we're in Dwarf Cave. So, like I said, I'm doing this entire run without saving, and that means if I miss any of these jumps, then the run is over. The ledges in sections like this, well, really the ledges in this entire game are extremely ambiguous. So you just kind of have to know by trial and error where you're able to walk, or how far you're able to walk and where you have to jump. But I've definitely lost runs in these two screens, and it sucks. This game was definitely not intended to be a platformer. So I guess I should briefly mention how leveling in this game works, or how the game expects leveling to work. I fought Natella at level 7. The lowest level that the game expects you to fight her is 11. So at that point we were 4 levels low, and now we are even lower. So most of the things in this cave will just completely destroy us. These fire dragons, if they hit us and we're not facing them, so we get like the shield bonus, the shield push bonus, the fire dragons will just destroy us in a matter of frames. You don't have iframes in this game, so you can take damage like every, I don't know, 6 frames or something. We have shield equipped and we're facing that dragon, so we're able to just go through him. But if we're hit like to the side or into our side, if we're hit in a perpendicular manner by a fire dragon, we're just dead. However, the fire dragons give a ton of experience. So they give 34 experience, if I remember right. These cyclopes, rock golems, whatever you want to call them, they give 10, I think. So the fire dragons give an absolute disproportional amount of experience. I think the next highest, besides the cyclopes, is like 8 experience. So the fire dragons give 3 to 4 times the experience of the next highest value enemy. So the level route, oh, great menu, dude! Alright, well, we overcycled, so we lost 6 seconds, so we have to go back and equip Windcutter. Yeah, so the level route here depends pretty highly on killing these fire dragons. But again, the margins are really slim. Like, if we... To hit them with your sword, you have to be very close, but if you're too close, you just die and the run's over. So, it's pretty risky and super, super scary. Windcutter kills them in one use, which is excellent. So we grab that, if for no other reason than just, like, running around and picking up fire dragon kills in this cave. The time it takes for the item fanfare and the... I don't know if this is worth, though. There's a fire dragon down here if we line up at the right side of the door here, but the Cyclops was in our way. Not sure about that one. I guess I must have felt like I was a little bit behind the experience curve, but I don't think I missed any fire dragons along the way. But again, when you're in the middle of the run, you just have to make a decision and commit to it, so that's what I decided. But yeah, certainly the time it takes to get the Wind Crystal and equip it, ordinarily, assuming no missed menu, is compensated by all of the experience that you can just scoop up by walking through this cave. This is the only cave where we'll use the Wind Crystal. We'll go back to Fire Crystal afterwards. So, I briefly considered skipping it in one of the route revisions, but, like, it's just worth too much. It's worth too much. Because you can't kill any of these fire dragons without it, and you'd be losing like several hundred experience. It's just, I don't know, you just need it. Definitely could have killed these guys more efficiently though. Am I gonna try and kill these two? I must, it's worth too much. Yeah. So again, if your movement is a little bit off and you don't kill both of them, you're dead and the run's over. That's gonna be a trend of this run basically from now on. So I apologize for being repetitive, but you're dead and the run's over is going to be a recurring theme here. You go, dude! Even though I know that I lived, it's still so scary. Alright, well, as you could see, I was, I don't know, I had a pretty big chunk of health, and I got hit by one fireball and was taken to, one hit from death. And the Cyclopes are random. When they choose to fire, the direction that they face when they fire, and how they move, all of it is random. They will always try to move towards you, but the manner in which they move towards you isn't predictable. So yeah, it's scary in that end place by the escape chute. because those two Cyclopes can like group together and they can stagger their fireballs while just slowly inching towards you. And you have no way to move forward. Like, you have to keep jumping the projectiles. But when you jump in this game, you're committed to that axis. So if I'm facing up and I jump, I can move up or down, but I can't move left or right until I land. So those enemies are really efficient at locking down all of your escape options and committing you into like a really bad jump. Like, you either jump and you're stuck on that axis, or you don't jump and you're killed. So yeah, it's pretty easy to just get stuck there, and then you know, they get too close and you don't have anywhere to go. But obviously we made it through. So what happened in that first visit, besides getting experience in the Wind Crystal, is that we got the Moonstone. It was just a slightly larger rock that was on the back of the Silence Cave in there, and we pulled it off. And the reason we needed that is because there was a dude in this town, Denagul, that really wanted to see it. So you don't even give it to him. You let him look at it, and he says, "Wow, I'm glad I'm alive. Here, take this freezing pot." And the freezing pot will freeze this lava lake, and that will let us go and kill the bad guys. So that was the second major backtrack here, and we're good to go now. The goal with this entire Dwarf Cave section, besides not dying, is to reach level 13. So this game's damage formula is pretty interesting. It's on the surface very simple. It's just the enemy's defense value minus your attack stat with modifiers, with weapon and power ring bonus, and that's the damage. But if you're really low level, like I am here, and that formula would yield 0 or a negative value, well, no, not 0. If it would yield a negative value, the game's like, whoa, man, all right. How about we just set it to 2 and call it a day? So if you're fighting a boss at too low a level, like I did against Natella, and like I would have done against this boss if I didn't kill so many enemies along the way, you would do 2 damage. But there's a magic value, or there's a magic range where that formula will yield 0 or 1. And since that's not a negative value, the game doesn't give you the sympathy 2 damage. So there are some thresholds. I think being level 10 against Natella with first sword will yield 0. So you'll swing, and the sword will go ting, and the boss will flash white, and the health bar won't move. And I think being level 26 with the third sword against Ella is another magic value. I think that's a pretty common one that a lot of people see. But either way, those values exist, and if you happen to stumble upon one of them, it sucks. Discord, you need to stop beeping at me. Okay. Right. These guys not giving me much room, and that's what happens when you fail to kill both fire dragons. We somehow lived. That's not normally what happens. Normally when they hit you like that and you don't kill both of them, it's just the end. But we lived. Okay. Well, so I was talking about the damage formula for a reason. We want to reach level 13 because that's the point at which we'll no longer get the sympathy 2 damage. And this next boss has 150 health. So doing 2 damage per hit would take 75 hits. At level 13, we do 3 damage. So it takes it down to 50 hits. We save 25 hits by reaching level 13. And we have to get levels at some point. Like, it's just not sustainable to stay under-leveled for the entire game, because the boss gauntlet and the boss before the boss gauntlet will present some very real problems if you're doing 2 damage. You will lose several minutes if you survive, but normally you'll just die and feel bad. So while we have these high-value fire dragons, it's just worth it to scoop up experience, and level 13 is really reasonable without spending extra time grinding. And it's important against this boss because he's cycle-based, so he's only vulnerable when he chooses to be. So those extra 25 hits aren't just a matter of like 10 extra seconds of hitting him. it can be it can be like, I don't know, 45 seconds. I think you can get 5 hits per cycle, realistically in real time. I aim for 4. So we're saving, I don't know, 5 to 7 cycles, ideally. Sometimes as many as 9. But it's worth it. Again, you need the experience eventually, so you may as well pick it up while it's efficient and while it actually makes a measurable difference. This is an interesting AI manipulation that was found by accident when I was watching one of my friends do a casual playthrough of this back in like 2010. And he was fighting this boss and noticed that if the boss is on the left wall here, sometimes he just gets stuck. I'm not exactly sure what causes this. I initially thought that it was like the boss trying to move left to line up with you, because the boss does try to line up with you and then push forward. But like, if you're way off to the left to force the boss to move left, sometimes the boss moves right and escapes this loop. And if you're too close to the boss will move down. So I'm not exactly sure how it works, but either way, it does somehow work most of the time. And that's what we do. We trap them there, hope that we get a good number of hits per cycle, and hope that the cycles are quick. Okay, that boss doesn't give us anything. Just opens up the door. So this next stretch is really scary. So again, we're supposed to have 3rd tier armor and 3rd tier shield. Instead, we have tier 1 shield and no armor, and we're underleveled. Like, we scooped up some levels in Dwarf Cave, but make no mistake, we are still low. So these enemies will clobber us. They'll destroy us in a matter of seconds. A matter of a second, really. The wind magic is only useful against these fidget spinners. The knights, I believe, are immune to all magic, and the enemies in the basement don't take substantial damage from this. So, this is not a good situation, PJ. What am I doing, dude? Just leave. Just go in the door. Alright, there. Perfect. Perfect manipulation. First try, every time. Okay, so here's the menu. We switch back to fire magic, and we switch to the tier 2 fire, the 3-way fireball. This is the spread shot. Shoots a big fireball that splits into 3 tiny fireballs. And you might think that the most efficient damage then is to release it so it splits directly in front of an enemy and they get hit by all 3 fireballs. However, the split fireballs do basically no damage, so we want to hit with the big fireball instead. So we're going to be using this in like melee range. The sword dancers take 4 fireballs and a sword swing. Yeah, I think they are also in a weird situation where you can use 5 fireballs and sometimes they'll die, but they'll also sometimes live with 1 HP. So I do 4 plus 1 instead of 5. We're gonna do 1 loop around here. This is the most valuable room in the game for a number of reasons. Equipment-wise, certainly. This one screen has the key item for progressing plot. It has the 4th armor, the 4th shield, and the power ring. And it's a pretty small map, and it's a very connected map. So it's not like you're looping back through the same parts over and over again. We're doing 1 loop. We're killing like 20 enemies, 20 really high value enemies, and getting very good equipment. So it's worth, well, it might be worth. This is a screen that I'd have to look into if I ever decided to return to this run and reroute. But certainly at the time of running this, it was worth it to kill every enemy. So I mentioned before, the fire dragons give 34 experience. I think the enemies here give like 40 something and 50 something. I think the sword dancers give like 56 and the elephants give 42 or 44. Those numbers might be completely off, but either way, I'm pretty sure both of these enemy types give more experience than fire dragons, which is an alarmingly high amount of experience. Again, considering how Considering the enemy density here, how closely packed these enemies are, and that all of them are weak to magic, or susceptible to magic at least, and move in predictable ways, it's just a really great room. And I would have a hard time believing that there's a better alternative to gaining levels. There might be like more efficient ways to kill the enemies, but this is the best that I've found. So we got a bunch of really good equipment, and you saw me open up the menu there. What I was doing there was checking my level. So in addition to waiting until I collected everything to use the menu, because it saves in the menu loading time, we also want to wait until we level up. And the reason for that is because of this really interesting ring glitch. So we collected a ring in the Dwarf Cave. That was the protection ring, I think. There's a protection ring and a defensive ring, and I don't remember which is which, but I think protection ring is the one we got, which adds 10 defense, as opposed to the defensive ring, which makes you temporarily invincible. Or rather, it gives you the benefits of a shield. So if that ring's equipped, if you bump into an enemy, they get pushed. Anyways, when you have rings equipped, they drain MP at negative health, or negative town refill rate. So it's a really quick drain. I'm wondering, did I say health? It drains MP. It doesn't drain health. And then when your MP reaches 0, the game says, alright, he's out of MP, unequip the ring. And it does, it unequips the ring. You can see that my MP is refilling now. However, when it unequips the ring, it doesn't actually recalculate your stats. So we have the power ring equipped, which gives us 20 power, 30 power, 10. It gives us some amount of power that we definitely want. And then we drained our MP and it unequipped it. But we still have the bonus from the power ring. We still have that attack bonus. And the game isn't going to realize that that the ring is unequipped and recalculate our stats until it has a reason to recalculate our stats. And it only has a reason to if we're in the equipment menu or if we level up again. So if I had done that menu at level 15 and then killed one enemy and leveled up, if my MP had reached 0 in that time, which it would have, then the game would have realized that my ring was unequipped and it would have subtracted the bonus. So I wanted to make sure that in addition to having all of the equipment, I reached the level that we're going to reach, the final level that we're going to reach before the next boss, and then equipped everything at once, because we want to have the power ring equipped for that boss. And I normally wouldn't waste that much breath on a stupid glitch like that, but that comes into play in the boss gauntlet at the end too, so it's worth addressing now. So later, when I talk about the power ring glitch, that's what I'm referring to. Okay, what's going on in this town is that everybody's sick. They got hit by some plague, I think. Some kind of sickness. And the only cure for that is mint, and the only mint in this game's universe is in the basement of that castle. Fortunately, we didn't have to trigger this quest and figure out that they needed mint. We could just go and grab it first, and then come here. So we gave the mint to the cleric, he healed everybody, and then let us go into the basement, or back door? I'm not sure what this is. Those are stairs, so I guess the basement of this church, where there are a bunch of spirits, and they tell us what we need to know to go on. So, once again, they give me a key to a boss room, and we're gonna go kill the boss. So I guess one minor bonus of the power ring glitch is that we are able to refill MP. I mean, the main benefit is that you save the menu time. Well, in this instance, the main benefit is that you save the menu time. But the side effect is that we have MP just from like stutter stepping and whatnot, standing in place here and there to kill enemies. And the extra MP lets us use the fireball and kill some of those slugs along the way. It's extremely minor and probably doesn't actually matter at all, because I think the slugs only give like 20-something experience. But again, it is a thing. You can use that MP to kill an enemy instead of running around him or pushing him. You can probably save some lag frames. A minor thing, I wanted to kill that fidget spinner to reduce lag again, but I missed my second hit. Like, I line up just off to the right from center in that corridor to force the fidget spinner to move right so I can kill him while walking, but it didn't quite work out. Alright, this is Duma. His health and defense values are just weird. He has, like, essentially no defense, so with our level plus power ring, he gets just smashed. Oh, too bad. One hit short. Yeah, alright, so... I'm surprised that I waited the extra cycle and then went on that one where things weren't synced. There's some weird decision making there, but it worked out. You can kill him in 2 cycles, so you can kill him without having to walk back to the door and reset his hands. But your rhythm has to be really tight, and you have to predict that first hit. You have to predict his opening really well. And that's very hard to do in the middle of a run like this. So really, any run that doesn't die, I count as a success. Okay, so we got another key. I don't know, I'm not gonna lie to you here, I don't know what's going on in this castle. But we got the key to go deeper into the castle. And at the top of the castle we find bad guys. I'm stupid, I forgot this happened. Right, so in this room you keep holding up. Some of the screen transitions are weird in this game, and if you enter a door from below, sometimes in the next screen the door is at the top of the screen. So like, instead of just holding up to enter the door and then continuing to hold up in the next screen to exit the doorway, you would hold up to enter the door and then hold down in the next screen. And basically, I forgot about that staircase room, and I thought I was in this screen where the exit is at the top and would require holding down. And as a result, I walked back into the doorway and lost the entire load time. These enemies give pretty okay experience. The more important thing is that we got a full MP refill after killing that boss. So we had like 114 MP, and only 1 room in which to use it. So it's just worth it to spam the fireball and kill everything along the way. This dude, the unfamiliar guy next to Thor, his name is Battler. He's a bad guy. He has brainwashed Thor. So Thor and I were best buds. We're twin brothers, but I don't think we knew about that. We're just friends. But Battler brainwashed him into thinking that I'm bad and that the world needs to be destroyed or something or other. So Thor is a bad guy right now. That cutscene with the castle floating on the water pillar is because they need... So this castle, Lagoon Castle, has magic powers in it. And, or rather, it has some rooms that amplify magic powers. But they needed the castle to be inaccessible so that they wouldn't be stopped. So they elevated it on this pillar of water. But that's not going to stop us. We're the hero of light. So away we go. We are in this place. I think this is Hobbit Valley. No, I think Hobbit Valley is the place that we just walked through. What is this? I don't care. This is some town. There are 3 key items here that we need. We get the bell that's required after killing the next boss. Then we get the Truth Fire that's required to get the Fur Mantle, which is probably required for the next dungeon. Haven't actually tested, but I think that's true. Truth Fire reveals who the liar is in town by setting him on fire. And then when he's revealed, he gives us the Fur Mantle. I haven't actually tested it. I should probably write this down too. Test Fur Mantle skip. I'm not sure how this would actually work in practice, but I never looked into it. So this place, the Ice Cave, if you don't have the Fur Mantle equipped, your health drains again at negative town refill rate. So it depletes really quickly. But when you have it equipped, the dungeon is just like a normal dungeon. I think skipping this would be a bad idea because I need the elixir here, but I'm just really curious now if it's even possible. Maybe a task could do it. I apologize for the contrasts on the player health and enemy health and the snow. That's also going to be a problem in like the cloud screen and in this boss fight. I was playing on a modded SNES, a component modded SNES, but the person who modded it used some bootleg parts, I think, and it ended up like completely ruining the contrast for bright colors. And light blue and white appear identical. So, oops. Just made things a little bit more difficult for me. But it is inconvenient in this cave if you're actually wanting to pay attention to my health or enemy health. So this cave doesn't require really anything. You can go straight to the boss if you want. But again, we're gonna just scoop up some experience along the way. And more importantly, I wanted to get the elixir in the bottom right of this cave. Healing items are extremely limited. There's the healing pot at the beginning of the game that recovers 10 HP, which is nothing. And then there's elixir, which is a full heal, but you can only have one of each healing item. You can't just like buy a bunch of elixirs and carry them into late game. You can have one. So that's it. That's our one. Well, you can have one at a time. If I eat this, then I can get another one. So we're going to use the protective ring to get a defense boost here. The reason I do this is because you can't realistically damage this boss without trading. So he has 6 of these octopus drones, and each of them fire ice shards in a random direction, a random cardinal direction, in random intervals. And there's a 2-pixel safe spot here for the right octopodes rather, where you can stand and hit them without being hit by ice crystals or being run over by the snowball. So I need to line myself up there, and I'm going to kill each of these 6 safely. That was a bad pixel, but I just took the gamble. And now we try and fight this guy. And yeah, he just kind of steamrolls you. You have to hit him from above or below, but that's his direction of movement. That was an unbelievably good fight, man. Wow. So yeah, in order to damage him, you have to take damage. You have to trade. And he doesn't do a lot of damage at once. It's just that the frequency of his hits is so great that you end up bleeding out. But since every hit gets the defense modifier applied, using the protective ring is it's a multiplicative boost. So it's worth it. Okay, we use the bell to summon these nymphs. They give us a staff, but the real reason we do this is that they send us to Phantom Hill. This is just more forward progress. So at the top of this is the most difficult boss in the game. That's Ella. Oh, I should mention, the item that we got from killing the snowball is the life ball. That's another healing item, but that's the only one in the game. If you have that equipped and you die, you'll be revived with full HP. So it's super good. Super, super good. But since that is limited and elixir isn't, we're going to start with our elixir and use that first. Just in case we have a very good Ella fight, and we can save the life ball for the boss gauntlet. So Ella has a single attack. She teleports in a random location and fires fireballs clockwise, starting from the right, I think? Is it upright? I think it starts from 3 o'clock and goes clockwise. I guess we'll see very shortly. Yeah, starts from the right. And as you damage her, she speeds up. And that's it. That's the fight. So for the first half, maybe when she's down to like 40% health, she just speeds up and that's it. But when she gets into desperation phase, she's moving so fast that you can't realistically chase her. Like, you can't get into position and hit her before she teleports again. And that's made even worse by the fact that you can't change axes when you're in midair. So you can't realistically close the gap that way. But her teleports are in a pattern, not by position, but by number. So this is phase 2, you can tell by that delay. So she's going to teleport a certain number of times following the pattern 93977993. So she'll teleport 9 times and then pause. This might be 9. Okay, now she'll teleport 3 times. 2, 3. Now 9 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and pause. So for the rest of the fight, I'm going to be staying kind of in the left center here, because there's a good cluster of possible spawn points there. And I'm going to be trying to hit her here and there as she appears. Going to try and be really aggressive. All the while, I'm counting her teleports and keeping in mind the overarching? I don't know if I've ever known how to pronounce that. The overall pattern that she's following, so that we know when she's going to pause and when it's safe to actually close the distance and hit her. We are very under-leveled here. In order to do non-minimal damage to her, we have to be level 22, I think, with the power ring. And even that, I think, is only 4 damage. We fought her at level 20, so we were doing 2. We were invoking the sympathy 2 damage from the damage formula. And she has 256 health. So we have to hit her 128 times without her hitting us. I don't even know what the number is with these values. I think we can survive 6 hits per life bar. So 18. We can survive 18. But that was a very good fight. We killed her in a really low number of teleports, and we only used the elixir, so we still have the life ball for the boss gauntlet at the end of the game. And that's really good. So this dude here that just died, he lost the DBZ fight with the other guy. He was the one that found me at the start of my life. Oh yeah, look at this contrast. The top of these clouds and the background, really, really nice. It normally doesn't look like this, but again, my component modded SNES was screwed up. So I just had to kinda guess where the edges were. And again, if you miss these jumps or you walk off the edge of the cloud, you're dead. It's game over and the run's over. Yeah, the guy that died there, he's Matthias, I think? He's the guy that showed up in the opening cutscene of the game, if you start a new file. He found me on the mountaintop and raised me, I think. I think, Thor was also there, but he was raised by the other dude, Zera. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. But that guy was important to the plot. We watched him die, and with his last ounce of energy, he blew us to the clouds, but the clouds were too high, so we jumped off of the clouds to this place, Lagoon Castle. This is the place that was floating on top of the water. This is where the magic power is amplified. So what they're planning on doing is with the amplified magic power of this castle, they're going to revive the evil spirit. And the evil spirit is going to help them do something. Or maybe the evil spirit's just going to destroy stuff. I don't know. They wanted to do it, and they're going to do it. So Lagoon Castle, I think there's faster pathing that can be done here. At the cost of experience. So my experience route from here to the end of the game isn't super optimized. I kind of just want to kill... All of these enemies give a ton of experience. They all give several hundred each. I think those knights give 250. So I'm just kind of killing enemies that are against walls, or all of these knights because they're easy to fight. But I don't know if it's actually needed. I don't remember the level that I end at. I think I end at 26, and I fight this boss, Battler, at 25. I don't remember the level value, but I remember the experience value. We'll see, because I equipped something right before the boss. But I like these values just because they give comfortable boss fights. They're difficult still, but they're at least realistic. And I think when I tried doing it a level or two lower, it was usually not in my favor. And you would think, pausing to kill each of these enemies, I'm probably losing 3 or 4 seconds per enemy, as opposed to just running. Maybe 2 or 3 seconds, because the lag would catch up with me. but the problem is that the next boss, Battler, is kind of the same as Ella was. He teleports to random locations in the room, and you have to kind of chase him around and hit him. And he teleports faster and faster as he loses health. But instead of teleporting and shooting fireballs, he just teleports and doesn't attack, and has 2 rotating golems that fill the screen with fireballs and with their bodies. And they do all the attacking for him. So it's not quite as simple as saying, well, PJ, you're dumb, you're losing a minute to get this extra level, and it won't take a minute to just hit the boss 5 more times. But in reality, it absolutely could take more than a minute to hit the boss 5 times, depending on his teleports and how it lines up with the cycles of the golems. But it is something that I probably could look into in the future. So, this is the Moonblade. Again, I kind of mentioned before, if you have the Moonstone and you hold it up to the sunlight, but it has to be exactly here. You hold it up to this sunlight, then you get the Moonblade. And the Moonblade is required to damage the very final boss. The game won't stop you from getting to him. So if you don't get the Moonblade, you can kill Battler, and you can go through the next dungeon, and you can kill the first 5 bosses of the boss gauntlet, and then you'll notice that you're not able to hit the 6th phase, and you're able to backtrack, but good luck actually realizing that what you needed to do was go back to Lagoon Castle and get the Moonblade. Fortunately, we are armed with that experience already, so we can just go take care of that before we get to the boss gauntlet. The other thing that we collected here was the statue. That's a plot item. The statue is required to break this mirror in the, I don't know, 5th floor. The floor that we're going to now. And that will let us save Princess Felicia. I think it's Felicia's magic that they're using to revive the evil spirit. She's somehow important to this mission. She either has magical powers or is otherwise required to tap into their own magical powers. But I don't know. Somehow she's a key part of this, and by freeing her, we stop, even briefly, their efforts. So we're gonna do it. We grab an elixir there. I'm not sure if the elixir is necessary if I have the life ball. But again, it takes like 10 seconds tops to collect, and in a run like this that's really going pretty well. Only a few minor mistakes. It's worth collecting just to make sure that I can finish. If I continued going north there, I'd be able to collect the 5th tier shield? I think that's the moon shield. I'm pretty sure that's the moon shield, because I think we get the armor. Either way, they're the same defense bonus, it really doesn't matter. But I don't do that. It's a long winding corridor. There are a lot of those reptile dudes, so you can get some experience, but it's like a minute and a half of walking, and it's really not necessary for the defense. And that room there, if I just went right there, gives me the curing ring. It's another ring that drains MP, but while it's draining MP, it's filling your HP. So it's a very useful, very, very useful item. I think you can get a full HP recovery with like 60 MP or something. And the previous blue palette screen that was adjacent to the room that we got the Moonblade in, that has an item that fully refills your MP. So if you're looking to play this game casually and you're watching this, you can get that item. That's the Bright Stone in the blue room, and the Curing Ring, and that will give you like an extra 6 or 7 health bars with which to fight the final boss gauntlet. But it takes, oh man, the number 25 is really sounding familiar, but I don't remember if that was like the aggregate time it takes to collect the Curing Ring and equip it and unequip it, or if that was just the time to get the ring. But either way, removing the Curing Ring from the route was a change that I made when I was really trying to push this time lower. So this route has gone through a lot of revisions over the years. I started running this in 2010, and this run was done in December 2015, I think I said. So the time has gone down a number of minutes over the years. I think this is my 3rd deathless run. but this is by far the riskiest route that I've used in any of them. I skipped a lot of safety items. I had very good boss fights. So I'm in a great position in the boss gauntlet with like the life ball and elixir. A pretty risky run. These dudes are really awful to kill. They have their hitboxes are really advantageous for them. So you get into these situations where you really want to hit them, but the game just doesn't let you. But they give a lot of experience. I think they give 300 each. And I wanted to reach this level threshold again just so that I have a much easier time against Battler. I was just checking there. I'm at 17,000 experience, and I need to be at 17,200. So I needed to kill one more guy. He's right here. So the experience route is pretty tight. I had 0 enemies of wiggle room there. I killed every enemy that I had intended to kill, and it took me just over what I needed to reach level 25. And again, I waited to equip the power ring until I reached that level, so that it won't unequip before this boss. And I waited until 25 to equip the armor for the same reason, really. I wanted to do it all in one menu, and I wanted to wait for the level for the power ring. So this guy can appear in only a few spots. There's a safe spot that I'm going to be using here. I think it's a 3-pixel safe spot. So there's going to be a possible spawn that he has that's 2 pixels above me, and one spawn that's 1 pixel below me. And those are ideal. If he gives me either of those, then I can win in that one spawn. So now he's at really low health, so his spawn... Oh man, what a great fight. Was that 5 appearances? It was really good. Yeah, he was at low health, so his teleports... I think the delay between teleports is fixed, but the time he spends in each teleport site is lower. And he's really deceptive because his hitbox vanishes. No, it's hitbox. The part of him that I can hit. That vanishes before his sprite does. So it's going to look like he's vulnerable much longer than he actually is. And when he's at really low health, he's only vulnerable for like 2 seconds, and you don't have much time to navigate to him, especially with the golems running around. So in many cases, it's slower to take a suboptimal teleport and hit him from like 50% down to 15 to 20%. Rather than just like waiting when he's at 50% for him to spawn at like a really close site so you can just kill him. But I took the gamble and it happened to work out in this particular instance, so that was fortunate. So we waited again to equip the protective ring until I reached level 26. Because of the ring equipment glitch, but it's not super important here. Like the main reason I wanted to do it is because the next boss is a series of 6 boss fights, and we refill our health and our MP after bosses 2 and 5. But we want rings equipped for all of these phases. But it really shouldn't matter for boss 2. Like we definitely want the... You know, the MP really doesn't matter for any of the phases, now that I'm thinking about it. It worked when I had the curing ring, because I wanted to get the ring damage boost, the ring stat boost, while still having max MP, so I could get more health refills. But if I'm not using that, then why does it matter? And the save there, again, it doesn't matter for the category, because if I die, I'm not allowed to continue. But I wanted to have the save just on file on my cart. As a sentimental thing. And that save file has long been deleted, so I'm not even really sure why I did that, but... Anyways, I wanted to do it, so I did. I think using a ring might actually be slower, because it drains my MP down, then I have to wait for the MP refill. probably save a few seconds by just foregoing the protected ring. Alright, anyways, those were the first 2 bosses. This bear kicked my ass, and I did not remember that being the case. You want to kill this boss when you're near the center, because the Thor fight is going to start and damage you on the first frame. And you want to damage boost backwards directly in front of him so you can kill him that way. If you don't, then you have to do like this reverse damage boost and kind of weave between the red fire orbs to get in front of him. He's a real pain. You want to kill Thor from either the right side or from below, because the frame after you kill him, he turns into this bird. And if you kill him from behind or from the left, the bird's hitbox pulls you through it and kills you. So, a pretty complicated sequence of boss kills there. Not only do I want to kill them quickly, but I have to be in the right spot when I kill them. And then there's a safe spot here that's pretty flexible, probably 4 pixels. Kind of tough to find with the scrolling background, but with experience it's not too awful. But when you're standing there, then you're safe. All you have to do is worry about jumping over the projectiles. And then you kill him. Now Thor tells us about how sorry he is, and he gives you his pendant, and it's really sentimental and heartwarming. And then we have one more boss fight. I'm just realizing I haven't talked about recoil in this game at all. But if you're hit by a projectile, you get recoiled in the direction of the projectile's motion. So the projectile is moving left, you get hit. No matter what direction you're facing, you get pushed left. If you're hit by a melee attack, though, you get pushed in the reverse direction of your facing. So I mentioned you don't want to be killing Thor from behind or from the left. And the reason is, if you're killing him from behind, you're facing down. The bird spawns on you, and when you're hit, you get pulled up, which is deeper into his sprite. So you keep getting pulled up into the sprite deeper, and the only way to escape is by reversing direction and damage boosting back out the other way. And by that point, you've already been hit 6 or 7 or 8 times and you're dead. And that's going to be true of this boss too. If you're about to get hit, you want to just stand there and take it, because if you try and run, you'll get pulled backwards through his entire sprite. And this fight's actually going to start with a damage boost. When he's spawning, the screen will blink really slowly, and after like 9 blinks, I think, he'll teleport. Sometimes he teleports instantly, and sometimes there's like a 1-second delay, but sometime after we gain control, but before he lands on us, we want to tap right. Because we start by default facing down, and if he teleports on us... That was a really quick teleport. That was very scary. If he teleports on us when we're facing down... Alright, that was a good fight. Quick digression. That is one of the other bosses, maybe the only other boss, that can be perfectly stun-locked like Samson, the first boss. So it's possible to... he'll teleport on you at the start, and then you can just kill him. And it's possible to kill him without him taking another action. But usually you'll do like 80% of his health, and then he'll escape. But yeah, if you don't tap right to damage boost away, and he teleports on you, like he's going to do the first time you fight him, since you're facing down, you're going to get pulled upwards through his hitbox, get stuck in the doorway, and die. So, it's not great. Alright, well, anyways, that's Lagoon. This run was pretty good. I'm pretty surprised, actually. There's a lot of like minor mistakes scattered here and there, and there's definite room for improvement. Even with the same exact route, you can probably save 1.5 minutes. But you would need to match the luck in all of the other places, and the luck was pretty far above average in this run. So, yeah, still really nice. So for those of you who have only seen my GDQ runs of Lagoon, this is quite a bit different, quite a bit less safe, and things actually worked out here instead of being disaster. So I hope you enjoyed that, because I probably won't be doing serious runs of this again. That being said, I'll see you next time.